Welcome to the Creative AI Show. What do we have this week, Bryon?
Hey Rosh, happy to be here as always. We are two creative guys talking AI, and I know we both have had a very fun week in the prompt to image prompt to video or image to video world.
Absolutely.
As long as we've said Kling is king, I mean, move on over. There's some new people in town here that
Yeah.
are pushing the envelope to where we're getting some really good comments we're getting from our community here on YouTube. I'm really appreciating it. I
Yeah.
put a video up on Saturday that's got almost 30, 40 comments of people watching it closely, giving good back and forth. So yeah, we appreciate that a ton.
Absolutely.
And then I want to talk about some of Sam Altman's comments here recently. Has the event horizon happened? Are we in the era of
It's
super
coming.
intelligence?
Yeah.
I think
That's
we're
gonna be
there.
a
What do
good
you think?
conversation. Absolutely.
Yes, yeah. It'll be a good one. What do you have going on today, my friend?
So, hey, we've been waiting a long, long time for Midjourney, the really great image AI image creator to go video, and they did it. They dropped it, and they did it good. So
Okay.
that's number one. And then Korea, and I want to talk a little Seedance with.
See
Hey, by
dance.
the way, Korea actually commented on the video that I created, so that was
Oh, a
nice,
little
nice of them
cloud
to
here
drop by.
happening.
So,
Oh, I like it. Hint,
so
hint. Well, we already know that Sam Altman watches all of our podcasts and all of our videos
absolutely. I mean,
based on the updates they've given us. They're
yes.
listening to us directly, I would assume. So, but all right, well, cool. I'm very excited to hear about that. I love it when any of the actual creators of these programs notice our content and
Yeah.
comment on it. That's huge. It shows that we're moving and shaking a little bit. But yeah, speaking of, one of our main bread and butters here on the Creative AI Show is talking about all of these different technologies in the video creation world. So whether it's a 5 second, 8 second, 10 second clip, that's kind of what's captivated the minds of the creatives in this AI world going
Right.
forward. And each one of these comparisons, I feel like we're getting to the point where we're starting to split hairs here of, where the mistakes are. And, in a year, are these going to be to the point where we declare them absolutely perfect? Is it going to be
Yeah.
less than a year?
Yeah,
What?
right. Just like this plateau. I mean, you'll
Hmm.
get to that plateau of there'll be little improvements, but ultimately it's more about how you use these tools. And that I'm sure
Yes.
the show will shift into that conversation versus new feature, new feature, new feature.
Yeah, how are you applying these tools now that
Yeah,
they're air quotes perfect?
right.
At least perfect to our eyes as we're watching them. But I will say that Hailuo, which I looked up how to pronounce this, as I typically do,
Hello. Yeah.
their Minimax 2.0, and a lot of people were disappointed by their 1.0 version, and they said, hey, maybe this isn't a real contender. But what often happens with these programs and the updates that happen is that a new update will come out and just come out swinging against the
Yeah.
rest of them, to where we want to compare it against Veo or Sora or Runway or all these other ones. And meanwhile, while that's happening, you're over here creating videos on Midjourney, which I'm excited to talk about here in just a minute.
Yeah.
But so it's a very exciting time in the world of AI, content creation and creating these videos. And I just did one the other day where I've seen all of these viral posts go up of these like historical interviews and stuff. So I did just a quick how-to of doing
Yeah.
that on Google Veo. So that one went up yesterday, a little plug for that. But really what I want to talk about is just how impressive Minimax 2.0 was. And I also want to implore to our audience, just because we, certainly here, in the United States as Americans, we have a certain perception of technology not created here, let's say. And just because a company, an AI company, is Chinese based doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be lower quality. I mean, for the longest time,
Not
we
at
have
all.
stated that Kling is the king, and Kling
Yeah.
is DeepSeek based, and it's
Yeah.
powered by the Chinese technology.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, so here we're trying our best to not be biased, and we want to have the answers across the board. But I will say that its text to video prompt adherence on Minimax 2.0 was probably the best I'd seen. It reminded
Mm.
me a lot of Rev, where you can put in 8 to 10 caveats, and it's checking, if not all boxes, at least 90% of them.
Yeah. Nice.
Whereas, say, Veo 3, I've had some prompt adherence issues, certainly on the audio side of it. And I guess
Right.
that's not fair to compare Minimax versus Veo because of audio, because Minimax doesn't have audio yet.
Right.
But when you give a full, very detailed prompt to Veo 3, it kind of does what a lot of the other ones do, where it's like, hey, I'm going to try my best here and give you 50, 60% of it, but I'm going to leave out some details. If I can't fit it in the 8-second slide, I get that completely. But, I did one where I gave it 4 different audio prompts, and only one of them did they actually listen to the audio prompt and actually use those words. So, that's where its prompt adherence wasn't quite as strong. I definitely noticed with Minimax that its motion detail was much more fluid and cinematic. So it had that kind of, that 24 frames per second cinematic feel,
right.
as opposed to, say, 30 or 60 frames a second. There's just a subliminal feel when something's cinematic that you
Smoother.
just...
Yeah.
It's smoother. Yeah, it feels right. It feels like you're watching a movie. And specifically, I had this one scene where this young lady was running through the streets of Tokyo in the rain in a black, a red kind of trench coat. And just the way that the reflections felt, the motion across the background, and where I notice a lot is, say, when you've got 2 characters and there's a depth of field issue, where you've got one character really strong in the forefront, but then other things happening in the background. When that character moves in front of whatever's in the background, you'll often see distortions on the background character. I noticed this a lot in Veo 3. I've noticed it in Sora. I've noticed it in Runway for sure. But in Minimax, I didn't really see that. I saw very clearly 2 different characters existing in space together without affecting each other in sort of a visual distortion type way. And also, it's image to video. Now, I thought both Veo and Minimax were going to just be the best that I've seen yet, because its prompt to video was so strong. But
Right.
they're actually both struggling a little bit in image to video, whereas, say, Kling, I think still kind of is winning in that department.
Right.
And we need to have, a good all-out, maybe 5 different, tool tests to kind of do a shootout for them. But, it's so much fun with watching these different technologies come out and their updates and who does what better. And, it's just more arrows in the quiver for the creative AI director who, wants to create these scenes, and which angle are they going to use. So, if you have any comments towards Minimax, let me know now. But I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about Midjourney video, because that's been a long awaited one.
Absolutely. I used Minimax. I did a number of comparisons and included them as part of the comparisons when I would do maybe, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 comparisons. It was always
Yeah.
available because I'd always get somebody in the comments saying, hey, you need to compare Minimax. I mean, it's the best.
Yep.
And okay,
Yeah.
here it is. No, it's not. Kling won by far. But I'm going to challenge you on that Kling to image to video, because who has been the image king for a long time. Now, obviously, we like Rev. Obviously, Rev has really
do love
taken
Rev.
it by storm. And Midjourney has come along, dropped their version 1 with very basic stuff. You can do high motion, low motion, meaning have it move more, move less, and
Okay.
you can prompt it. You can create your image in Midjourney, which we
Sure.
should be comfortable with, and then say, okay, now bring it to life, like many of them do now. That's pretty standard. It took so long. And you sit there wondering, like, is this going to be another Sora scenario?
Right.
Is this going to
I
be
had that
something
same
that,
exact thought. Yeah.
yeah, is this going to be something that's going to, no, they're either 1 or 2 in most everybody's comparisons. And Kling and Veo 3, despite these, they're 4 and 5. I mean,
Wow.
Minimax is up there, and Seedance, which is a big one. We've not had a chance to review that one yet. It's coming. And
Okay.
wow, those 3, Minimax, Seedance, Midjourney, doing great. Doing
Yeah.
great. And the Kings of just a few weeks ago, where we're crowing, these are the best things ever, no one's going to beat them, are already down.
Right. Oh,
Crazy.
man. Well, competition, inspires progression, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah, but here's the weird thing. So I did a comparison with Midjourney image to video and a couple others, Kling and so forth, and it didn't win. But here's why. It won in many, how do I put it? It won in terms of quality overall, except if you use a Midjourney photo. In other words, Kling photo was more detailed, more interesting.
Ah,
And
nice.
so if that's your starting point,
Right.
then, but the motion was better with Midjourney, but the background of what I prompted, because what I did is I took the exact same prompt and gave it to Midjourney, Kling, and I forget what the
Yeah.
other may have been, and that a runway, and those produced wonderful images as the first image, and then we took that image and brought it to life versus using the same image across the board. So
Right.
I have a feeling if I would take that image, say from Kling and made it across the board, then it would have been more of a fair fight for Midjourney. But we did a number of other tests. Midjourney it's a great system and it's cost effective
That was
because
my next
part of your
question. Good. Okay.
yeah, it's part of your subscription, which is not that much, depending on which plan you have, but it's really not bad at all. And I never ran into any limits. So yeah, definitely worth going to. But oddly enough, you might want to bring a different image in from
Yeah.
somewhere else to use with Midjourney.
Well, that's a couple different ways to try to compare these tools. It's like I know on a few of my videos I've taken an image from Rev that I know is a good
Yeah,
image, and then I upload that image with the same prompt in three different tools.
yeah,
But now that these tools are image generators and video generators, do you
yeah.
want to see, give it a chance to see what image it creates to then generate the video? And you would think that if it's using its own proprietary image, that its image to video would then be better.
Right.
So I'm very surprised to hear your
Well,
response here.
the video was good. It just think of it this way. It was a kind of a space age kind of a scene and
Okay.
in a city, like a modern space age kind of city. And so Kling and Runway made these great scenes and the subject in the foreground is really cool.
Yeah.
And basically Midjourney just brought an interesting character, but the background was kind of plain. It wasn't really even a city. It was
Ah.
like a bunch of maybe bokeh kind of just shapes in the background. It was really nothing.
Okay.
So when you brought it to life, Kling had the subject actually was just pulsing color and it's really a cool thing.
Yeah.
And so, but it had a better image to work off of. But again, Midjourney, the movement and all that was really good. Again,
Very cool.
yeah. So anyway, let's go back to you. What do you got next?
Yeah, exciting. So yeah, when Sam Altman says something, hey, on this show we listen,
Yeah.
and he is ready to officially declare that we have entered the age of artificial superintelligence. So this is kind of that breaking point to where these programs now are starting to develop on themselves. He has declared
Yeah.
that ChatGPT, in a sense, is already more powerful than any human who's ever lived.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with that assertion at all.
I
I mean,
don't
there's been plenty of humans in
Who's read the
existence
entire
with
in-
IQs of 160, but
Yeah.
to be able to
Have-
read and comprehend the whole internet and then
Yeah.
make that's
with an
we're
IQ
there.
of 160. So it's not the greatest IQ, but knowing the
Yeah,
entire internet, that person at 160 doesn't know, so or higher.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it's very exciting that that's happening. So what they're anticipating is by 2026, we're going to have AI agents capable of doing genuine cognitive work, i.e.,
Yeah.
software development, or hey, I have this specific problem. How am I going to use the whole internet to try to solve this? And just less human ideas to tell the robot what to do. The robot will start to know what to do.
The creative AI director will need to know the goal.
Yeah.
And but you can lean more on the AIs to get you to that goal. You're the approval. The AI is doing the work for your approval.
Right.
That's still going to be the case. But you say 2026. Well, that's 6 months away.
Yeah, we're already mostly there. It's not.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah.
so there's hints that ChatGPT 5 is coming out this
Yes.
summer.
Yeah,
So
I think that's
I'm
kind of what he's
assuming
hinting
July.
at, that we're going to be, and what we've already talked about with GPT-5 is that we're no longer going to have these sub bases of all these different types
Right.
of ChatGPT. It's going to decide based on our prompt which is the best of the tools to use, which is
Right.
another one of those steps of the cognitive ability.
So
And
you'll
then they
have
said by
probably
27
what's that?
that it. Oh, I said that's just another example of it being, cognitive, being smart, that
Yeah,
it's able
right.
to go down the right direction, the right alleyway to get the right answer that we're looking for.
Right.
So
Yeah.
by 27, these tools are going to be able to start deriving their own novel insights. Meaning, if, say, for example, the issue of transporting humans for
Yeah.
centuries now. As humans, we've been able to develop the automobile, or a motorcycle, or an airplane. By 2027, these systems are going to start thinking at a whole nother level to where they're like, well, why have you been using that for so long? Why don't you just use this form of propulsion or form of
Right.
whatever? And mention things that haven't even been invented yet, because it knows, the totality of the, materials available on this planet, and, our production capabilities. And it's like, yeah, of course you can make a hover car doing this and that and this and that. But like those are just the example of the kind of things, whereas maybe on the medical side of things, maybe being able to
That's going to be
determine
big.
issues of somebody just by, them breathing into a machine, and it analyzing the exhaust of our own, breath.
Yeah.
It can tell, and be able to diagnose things earlier. And, so we're going to start to get to those types of utopia world type of solutions quicker, based upon how quickly these tools are evolving.
Yeah.
They're saying by 27, get used to seeing, robots operating in the real world, doing real things in real
Absolutely.
time. And so, it's there's a balance of promise and caution. Obviously, it's going to have major ripple effects, and, certain industries are going to be, spun on their head because of this. But, they're already saying that it's happening now. And again, this is why this show exists, and so many, tools
Yeah.
exist online, just to help people know about these tools, how to use them, and how to stay creative with them.
Yeah, I had a conversation over the weekend, a number of conversations, because people will ask me to hear I work with AI, and they don't
Hmm.
they haven't even talked to ChatGPT,
Yeah,
especially older folks. And the first question is, should I be
resistant. Yeah,
concerned? You know, and I say yes, but
yeah,
the
we
genie's
we
out of
all
the
should
bottle.
be naive, right?
Yeah, and the genie's out of the bottle. It's here, so it's up to society to figure out how to handle it. And that's the way I say it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to ChatGPT 5, because I see O3 Pro that I use, and I love it. Yeah, I mean, I love O3, O3 Pro. O3's gotten better. They've made some tweaks that have, because I really liked O3 Mini, and then I had a little trouble with O3, but O3 is
Right,
better
I remember
now,
that.
working great, and Pro is amazing. And but if I need to check an email, I'm back to 4.0, because
Right,
I don't need, an entire college thesis on, hello, how are you today, client?
right.
You
Rewrite
know,
the scene.
so or to take 15, 20 minutes. So it'll be really nice when ChatGPT comes out as version 5, which we've been talking about for so long. It's going to be very, very smart. And yeah, I'll be able to switch from these different areas, and everybody will have access to it, just different levels of access depending on how much you're willing to pay.
Yeah. But yeah, even things like its deep research and stuff like that will not even be a differentiation of like clicking deep research. It will understand based on your prompt. At least this is what I'm anticipating.
Yeah.
And it'll just start doing a deep research to some degree, and being like, hold on, let me go check my sources, come back, and this or that. And yeah, it's already super valuable, and it's continuing to march that direction. So
So
very
yeah.
exciting. Obviously, like anybody, like you said, people ask me that a good amount too, and hey, should I be worried? And it's like, hey, just look at what your job is each day, and look at what it is that you do, and be like, is this something that could easily be done by some machine telling the computer how to click around? And if you're in one of those industries, you might want to start planting the seeds into something different.
Well, a lot of people, look, a lot of businesses, a lot of creatives are going to and are getting hurt because they focus in on the skill, which rightfully so. I mean, as a photographer, I like taking photographs. I mean, that's, you know, people who do voice acting, I don't know if there's be anybody left on that front.
Yeah,
And
that's a tough one.
there's going to be a lot of disruption in that area. But if you can be a person that says, look, I just have a vision of what I want to create, and stick with the vision mindset, with what is the outcome, and use the tools as the tools, versus saying, create a country song and it can be anything,
Yeah.
you want more control, and you want to be able to use these tools to meet your vision, because this is what, in other words, like, just accepting what the AI gives you, which is what a lot of us do right now. We get a few
Yeah.
versions, we get 5 results, 4 results, 1 result, and then we go with it. if it's not quite right, we'll maybe redo it again. You need to be a little strong with that, especially as these get to be
Yeah.
better solutions and really, as we mentioned, getting to that plateau of like everything just works. So now we
Yeah.
just have to have that vision of where we want to go. Because as I've mentioned before, you can have a Leonardo that creates 1,000 images for you. Great. Someone's still got to pick that final one.
Yeah,
And
if you
that's
can't tell what's good or bad
yeah,
and you just accept anything, then yeah, so that's why the experts are still going to matter. That's
yeah,
why, of course, there's still writers, still graphic designers on our team that we have, because even if
yeah.
they're going to use AI, they need to know what they're talking about at the end of the day to accept the output.
Right. Absolutely. All right. So Korea has been one of those platforms, and there are many that really just pull in the APIs of other
Okay.
people's platforms. And now they have Korea One, and it's pretty darn good. And I
Okay.
really enjoyed using it. So that and another one, as we mentioned before, Seedance, that is another one of the Chinese versions out there that I have not worked with yet, but I have access to now. And I'm gonna do some experiments this week with it because it is one of those top threes. You did Minimax, I
Hmm.
did Midjourney, and the other one in that loop is Seedance, and
Wow.
it's
Okay.
doing some amazing stuff. So the output wise, so it's hard to believe just 2 3 weeks later we're saying Kling,
Yeah, where are you
Google,
at,
you need
buddy?
to up your
Yeah.
game.
Right. I know. Yeah, we thought Veo 3 coming around was going to be the king for a few months here, and it wasn't even weeks, and it's already
Yeah,
kind of
yeah. I mean,
dethroned.
the
And
voice part is still
yeah.
strong on the
Yes. Yeah.
on Veo
Yeah.
3, but yeah. So
Yeah, and it's actually kind of funny sometimes if it doesn't follow your exact prompt and it wants to throw some things in. Like in my video I did yesterday with the historical ones, it's like some of these outputs were kind of funny. I was like, okay,
yeah,
it's clever. It's not listening to my exact script that I gave it, but it's running with something.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Very
pretty
good.
fun. So
All right. Well, hey, you have been listening to two creative guys talking AI. We'll see you
we'll
next
talk to y'all
time.
next week. Yeah, thank you.